Okay, let's get started. So, just in case anyone missed it, here's where we are currently. So we have an enemy who can draw a line of sight, and we can have him follow the player. But there are a couple issues, like he doesn't do anything when he gets to the player. He just steps onto the player, and it no longer works. But we have walls, so I can't run past this. I can step around them. And, yeah, that's where we're at currently. But here's what I want to do today. Also, how's everyone doing? So here is the tentative to-do list. So for combat, currently, it doesn't, like, nothing dies. So if I hit the enemy when it drops below 0 HP, it just keeps taking damage. Nothing happens. So I would like to add some sort of death onto the enemy, which would most likely change something inside of the world processing. Along with that, a big priority today is I want to make enemies not walk into the same position. So like the thing you saw where the enemy stepped onto the player and then died and just like stopped responding. I want to fix that. And there's two ways I can do that. I can either just stop them from moving onto the same position, or we can allow multiple entities in the spot. And I don't know which one I'm going to do. So we will see. Because there are a couple other things that I want to change before I get to that. But this is definitely something I want to fix today. I also want to add a couple of quality of life things to the enemy, like a reaction time, or giving them the ability to also roll for damage against the player. I want to start working on some actual item stuff, because currently we have these two weapons, and they aren't like full items. They're just kind of like things that you hold and can attack with. And I also want to add the ability to have them in the world and pick them up or drop them. Any advice on how to talk to people about my game without being extremely awkward? Well, if you're talking to other game devs, my guess is that they want to hear about like the troubles you had with it, or like some design reasoning that you did. Like, just like talk about nerdy shit. Don't be like, this is the game that I made and I'm really proud about it. Be like, this is the game I made. I used Godot. The programming was really hard. You know, shit like that, or like design. And I also want to add it so that I can just put like entities on a tile map and then spawn those into the world. Because currently, if I want to put walls in the world, I just have a bunch of walls and I set their starting position here, and that is like the worst thing in the world. And I'd rather just have a tile map that I can draw on and then make those the world entities. So we're going to do that. That might actually be the first thing I work on. We'll see. There's also just ambient tiles, so like random like decoration tiles. I don't know what I'm going to do for that, but we'll see. And the world currently doesn't extend to the end of the screen. So if I like move all the way to the right, I stop moving at like 16 out, and I'd rather it be like the entire screen. That one's not a high priority. That one can always change whenever, but... It's an action platformer roguelike deck builder with procedural levels and squishy pixel art about a cat trapped in the 9 circles of hell. You're given too many buzzwords. Just be like, you know Dead Cells? You're a cat, and you have cards, and you're working your way through hell. Because dropping like saying like squishy pixel art, that's like a little bit too much technical information. If you're doing like an elevator pitch, you just kind of want to be like, you know, this game, imagine this game, but with this. Anyways, I think this is going to be the first thing I tackle. I want to do tile maps. Should probably add neon white in there too. Probably. Maybe. Although I think a lot of people do dislike whenever you're like, it's X game meets Y game. So like definitely don't make it just Dead Cells meets Neon White. like make a few more things about it. Like it's like an action platformer like Dead Cells with some of the card like deck building things from Neon White. Yeah, that. Basically that. Okay, so let's look at the new tile maps. So I actually haven't worked with the new Godot 4.3 tile map system. From what I understand, it's basically the same, except now we have tile map layers. So I might just call this like wall layer. And see where this goes. So new tile set. Fuck, how do I do this? It's tile set here, and I drag in the art. Yeah, JW, make a trailer. So what tiles do we want to use? Or actually, I might not want to use these tiles. I might want to make scenes or use these scenes instead. I might just do that. Let's delete this scene collection tiles. If you didn't know, you can use scenes in tile maps. And you should totally look into that if you haven't used it. So I think now, okay, this is offset. Is there a way for me to offset this like inside of the tile map? Might just make that part of the base entity class, like here. So I might just make this like a const tile or sprite offset. Instead of having to offset all the sprites like this, I think I'll just nudge them all over manually. I might revisit this, but I think for now that makes most sense. You also have, I know you posted a short in Discord. When are you posting that short to YouTube? Not like I can speak on posting videos to YouTube, because I haven't done that in like 3 months, but... Also, yeah, Cubear, I also have not used scenes and tile maps, so this is like my first attempt at using it. This is already like just intuitive. Like if I draw like walls and shit. So now can I... Let's see, so for an entity on ready, so instead of having the starting position variable, can I just like read in the current global position and just like say grid position equals like global position dot floor? Maybe this might work. Nope. Oh, because this is also using starting position. Let me check for anything else. Okay. Ooh. That's not right. So what's going on wrong? Update pathfinding, that's great that that's out of bounds. So what is the problem with this? Let me find out what this is doing. So entity global position. So let's start with just one thing on the screen. Let's kill these, kill this, and kill this. And then we'll put like a single player on screen. There. No, we're not doing that. There we go. And then in player, we'll just have you do everything else that the entity does. Oh, okay. I found it. I found the issue. So I need to divide the global position by a cell size, which is just 16, 16. Oh, wait, this is the player. Let me go to the grid world. Let me make this part of the grid world. I'm not even using grid size in here. I wonder if Godot does this. So I know certain programming languages require you to call super before doing anything else. Let me see if I can do like grid position. Or I guess I can just do it inside the entity. It doesn't matter. Global position divided by grid world dot cell size. You do have to call super. So like, for example, if I wanted to do something specific to the player's position before calling super, I would need to change how that works. Like, for example, print I'm the player and then call super. Does this error out? Doesn't look like it. Like what I was saying was, I think for some programming languages, like I think specifically Java, if you have a constructor super call, it has to be structured like this. Whereas I guess in GDScript, you can call the parent constructor whenever you want, which is nice. Otherwise, I would just have to make like a function called like register self and just call that manually, which would be gross, but okay. So the player's in, the player's moving around. And then in the grid world, I might as well do this now. World size, do we have this? We're not using this anywhere. I just wrote it down for fun. Yeah. World size dot. What the hell is that? What is that? What is that? I don't even know what that... There's like an emote in my YouTube chat now that CD just put. I have no clue what the fuck that is. Hold up, I'm zooming in on this. What is this? Oh, it's a cat in a box. I fuck with it heavy. Thank you for the addition. All right, and then I'm just gonna make this, like, what would the tile size be? So if this is 16 by 16, there's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-ish tiles down there. And then if I run all the way over here, this is like double plus half. So like, can I value this? Ah, I love that. Cool little thing for Godot if you didn't know. You can do math inside of code, and if it's like just constant value, you can highlight it, right click, evaluate selection, or Control Shift E. Just does the math for you. Love it. But this would be like plus like 5, I think it is. Is that a different cat? Wait, is this a different cat? I also fuck with that one heavy, but I fuck with this one more because it looks almost like a calico and I have a calico cat. Okay, that's close enough for now. This goes off screen. Okay, I can worry about that later. That's fine. I do not fuck with that one. This one over here. I do not fuck with this one. It reminds me of like a fucked up thwomp. From like Super Mario 64. Or not a thwomp, sorry. No, it is a thwomp. Fuck, what are the block pushy dudes from Super Mario 64 called? Is Super Mario 64 pushy guys. Pomp's Fortress. God, what are they called? They're not called pushy walls. Are they called bomps? Is that what that is? It is a bomb. Check out this dude. This is called a bomb. Okay, what was I doing? Okay, so this is in... Let me see if enemies and walls work, if I can just draw them in. So, like, for example, if I want to make, like, an enclosure on the player, I can do tile map, just draw a rectangle, and then that's the player. Does this work? What is this going to do? Let me kill, like, most of these. Does this work? Oh my god. Huh. So this isn't what I would have thought would work, but I guess it makes sense, because what ends up happening, I think from the player's perspective, is if there is a platoon, if there is an entity in the world. Let's see, where is it? So if we're moving, if we can move. Okay, so the players are trying to attack each other. So what happens? So this layer, if I move down and to the right, sees that there's no entity here and tries to move. This layer sees that there's enemies or entities and tries to attack them. And that, like, cascades all the way. So you just, like, launch a bunch of enemies at a time. Aw, that's so cool. What a sick, like, thing. Oh, hey, Jose. What web app would you build? Like, just, like, a random-ass website doing, like, CSS and making things look good? Let me kill these enemies. They're not enemies. These are players. So, if I put the player here, and then I want to surround them with walls. And then maybe put, like, an enemy up here and here. Does this all work? It does. They can't walk through the wall. The drawing is off by a little bit. Let me fix that. Look at that, dude. Just beautiful. It really is. And then I can... Let's see. What is color? Is this like a vector 4 or is this like an actual class? Okay, this is an actual class. So var draw color is color.red. And then if we can see player or could see player, draw color is green. So now whenever I move into the enemy's line of sight, it becomes green because they can actually see me. Cool. I have a media discovery logging app, basically design I want to build. If I did more front end, you would ask me for help. I'm so happy I don't do front end. Front end development pisses me off. JavaScript is such a disgusting language. Okay. Back to this. So I may as well do this. So now that's done. That was a lot easier than I thought it would be. So let's go ahead and take care of something that's been bugging me, which is I want enemies to wait for a turn. So let's say, where is enemy? So enemy var reaction time. So we'll say is 1 for now. Var current player reaction time. We'll set to 0. So if we... Oh god, this is going to get really ugly, but I think it's fine. Because I'll probably break this out into a state machine later. I think that would make this a lot easier, but right now I don't need that. So if we can't see the player, that doesn't change. If we can see the player, then we want to check if our current player reaction time is at least our reaction time. If it... Actually, we'll say if it's less than reaction time, we will add 1 to it. And then return entity action.new action type dot wait. And then if we can't see the player, and we could see the player, or no, if we can't see the player and we no longer can, then we're gonna do current player reaction time equals 0. I want to say this works. So like, for example, so I think next turn I will get into his vision range, so the line will turn green, but he won't start moving until the next turn. I lied. Ooh, problem. Oh no, it's because this is never set to true. So let's do... I guess this is a debug. It doesn't matter if I really call this. I think this would be more useful than knowing if they could see the player. I'd rather see if they can currently. Okay, so he can see the player, so next turn he should start walking towards me. Yes. Cool. Let me add some walls that I can, like, go behind. Yeah, I think that'll be fine. So he's going to start walking towards me. He didn't. Because I moved out of the way. Right? And we'll just update this here for now. I really do want to convert this to a state machine one day. I'm actually going to put a to-do list here to just say, to-do, make this a state machine eventually. Okay, so he does start moving towards me. If I go behind the wall, I need to break line of sight for like... Ooh, hey buddy, you're not supposed to do that. He's tunneling through walls. You were not supposed to do that. Does that mean the wall no longer works? He actually just destroyed the walls and just like completely ruined them. Your tutorials made my Godot and programming knowledge on general expand greatly. Thanks for that. Keep up the good work. You are helping lots of people. Makes me really happy to hear that. I don't know, when people join and they're like, this random ass video that you made like a year and a half ago has helped me work in Godot better. Like, it's just like, that's really cool. That's probably why the drawn line of sight goes through walls. I think it's actually... I think it might just be a problem that I'm doing. It seems like the A-star grid should be solid in that case, and I don't... Okay, well now there's actually an error. Can see... Okay, that's fine. I don't really care about that. Will this be a game I made on App Store and all of stuff? Probably not. I'm mostly making this so that like people can go to the stream and see me working on things. And see sort of like how you start a project and then work your way up. And it's also just something to keep me a little bit more accountable to work on game dev more. Because because it's a lot easier to work on game dev when people are like, if I miss a stream, people will point and laugh in the Discord. But it will be on itch for free. It will be open source on GitHub. It is currently open source on GitHub, which is the link that is in the description. So it is currently open source on GitHub, where every day, like, I'm committing things and then saying where I'm at the end of the day. We have a few different things that I'm working on currently. This is for today. I want to try to get as much of this done. But yeah, this will be available. It will... I don't know if it'll be a full game. I'm kind of interested to see how much of this I'll get done within a month. Or, sorry, 2 months. Those 3 videos structured how I work in Godot now. I'm really happy it helps. I really am. Because those videos are old. But I guess, like, principles don't really change. And even if my code gets, like, a little bit better over time, those were still understandable enough. You should try it. These games, so old school roguelikes are probably one of the highest, like, code-based games out there. I mean, like, if you look at the game world that I have a tile map layer and a node and then another node. And then everything else belongs to this script, like, panel. Like, I'm barely looking at the 2D panel. It's just, like, all code. Okay, so what is the problem with this? My guess is it's the A-star grid inside of the enemy isn't being updated correctly. So... it's because I'm not updating pathfinding so often, right? Is it... I'm only updating it one time. So what I would instead want to do is at the start of due process, I would like to update my pathfinding. I'm gonna also put a little thing here to do. If performance sucks, this is probably why. So, because what I'm doing here is for every enemy, they are asking the grid world to go through and update its A-star pathfinding. This might be a problem. Hopefully not, but we'll see. So I think now... Ooh, okay. Okay, no, that's sick. What the fuck? So what's wrong with this? So I'm assuming this means the path doesn't have anything. So let's print out what path is before anything happens. So path is empty. Why is path empty? There's no errors in debugger, there's no output. I very much doubt that there is no path from the player to the enemy. What if the player stands still? Does it change anything? I doubt it. No. Okay, so this is a consistent crash. This is a consistent issue. Well, you know, Mo, as I see your message in Godot General, it does draw relative to the node. I think. If what I remember I did on Thursday, I'm pretty sure it is relative to the node. To do, this crashes sometimes. Yeah, it's doing it currently, actually. So why is it crashing? Let's say I allow a partial match. Does that change anything? I guess we'll, like, work through this. Nope. Doesn't change anything. Is there an issue with this? So I call update pathfinding. So all of these I set to non-solid. And then if it's the same entity and the entity blocks movement or is passable, we set it to solid. Can I see what these points are? Like, for example, A-star grid. Can I see what is inside of this? No. I wonder if it's because diagonal is not enabled. That should not be the problem. Let me get rid of the walls and see what happens. Okay, so even with the walls gone, this doesn't work, which means it's definitely an issue of the pathfinding node. I really wish I could see the inside of A-star grid 2D. Like, I wish I could see what the actual data looks like. I wonder... Let's see. So what we're doing, move toward position. So A-star grid get ID path. ID is from ID to position. So if I print both of these really quickly, excuse me. I'm also going to print out the A-star grid and hope that that somehow shows that. Okay, so from 9.4 to 12.7, is that correct? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's 2, but we'll call that 9. That looks about right to me. Ooh, cool Godot glitch. So is the problem that I am updating it wrong? So let's say I set none of these to solid. Let me just get rid of that completely. So everything in the grid is non-solid. That works. So it definitely is something that's blocking movement that shouldn't be. Or entity and entities.values. E.grid position. Ooh, we have way too many things happening right now. Right now, actually, this doesn't matter. Oh no, this does update every single frame. Let me kill one of the enemies. Awesome stream, can't tune in for too long because grinding college apps. Don't worry about it. College apps are very important. What are you going to college for? I'm assuming like some sort of programming or something like that. Okay, let me clear this. So now, what is being set to solid? So everything on the 2 line. 4.2 and 420, 5.2 and 520. So these are the vertical walls being set. So this is the horizontal row at the top. These are the vertical walls on the sides, all the way down to here. And then 37 here. I don't understand. Is there like a debug thing that I can get? Get like solid Hmm. No, Kuya, I'm applying to a lot of schools since they all have competent programs, so it's a lot of work. Yeah, I feel that. I feel that a little bit. It's been a minute since I did college apps, but they are stressful. But it will work itself out almost certainly. Also, how's it going, Meow? I appreciate the kind words about the tutorials. I really do. Oh, I need to debug this in such a way that doesn't suck. So here's what I'm going to do. Well, this is going to suck. But 4x in grid world size.x, or y in grid world size.y. Or I guess this would be better to do the other way around. I'm going to have to debug this because this is not working. Or maybe I'll probably end up writing this debugger anyways, but let's see. So update pathfinding. I really don't understand why this isn't working. There's not like a function I have to do to... Calling update is not needed after the call of this function. By default, all points are enabled. Can I just like set all of them to not solid? Oh, fill solid region. Rect 2i 0 0. And then world size.x, world size.y. So this should just do all of this for me. What are the chances that works? Nope. Okay, cool. If E dot blocks movement, or you know what? Is this supposed to be if entity is not passable? Oh my god, it is. So the problem was that it was trying to get to the player, but the player is its target. I'll have to work on that, I think. Okay, so yeah, that was the problem, I guess, was that I was checking if the entity is passable, and if it is passable, I was setting it to solid. Cool. I wonder... Let me look into the A-star grid settings really quickly, because I don't know... What do we have? Cell shape, cell size, default compute heuristic, default estimate, diagonal mode, jumping enabled. So I guess these three I'm kind of curious about. What does that mean? Never mind. Those don't matter. What's diagonal mode? A specific diagonal mode which will force the path to avoid or accept the specified diagonals. It will ignore solid neighbors around the target cell and allow passing using diagonal. It will never use diagonals. So like I imagine like up, down, left, right. At least one walkable. Will avoid diagonals if at least two obstacles have been placed around the neighboring cells. So I think what that is saying is, for example, if I had this line, this would appear like a solid wall. But if I had like this, they could walk around this. That's what I'm assuming it means. Diagonal mode only if no obstacles. Will avoid using diagonals if any obstacle has been placed around the neighboring cells. I don't know what that even means. So I guess we want diagonal mode always, which is fine because that's the default. Is there anything else we have in here that would be cool? Jumping enabled. Enables or disables jumping to skip up the intermediate points and speeds up the searching algorithm. Maybe. I think for now, I'll keep this as it is. So I think the enemy should be able to walk through this now. Okay. And it doesn't... Ooh, okay, it does. It goes through walls. Cool. Sick. Why is that? Could you not be... You don't have blocks movement. That's why. Okay, cool. So that looks like that works the way I want it to. Except the enemy still walks into the player, and there's an error now. Which is on this. That's fine. That's fine for now. I'm also going to up the vision range to like 8. So does that do anything here? Reaction time is done. Actually, let me double check that reaction time is done. Okay, yeah. So the player was out of the vision for 1 full turn. So it takes the enemy a turn to catch up to it. Cool. Able to attack player. Do I want to do that, or do I want to work on items? I think we'll do this. So let's go to enemy. Let's see. So we update pathfinding. We queue redraw. If we can't see the player, it doesn't matter. So then we do move towards. So how can I do this? I want it to be able to attack if it's in one of the 8 like surrounding tiles. So I'll say if our player diff equals, so our current position, no, sorry, the player's current position minus our current position. I will do player position. And then if we have kind of curious what this will show. I think this will just be a vector 2i, so it doesn't matter. Let me also get rid of some of these. So this doesn't matter, this doesn't matter. Okay, so 1-1 is what it printed before it moved on to the player and then killed itself. Cool. So if the player is 1 position away, I wonder if I can just do a... I don't have like a vector 2 direction. I would love to check the length, but I guess I could actually, because if it's... Let me walk through this in my mind really quickly. So we have this grid. So if we're right here, if the player's in any of these spaces, so like 0, 1 would be length 1. 1, 1, 1. So right here would be length like 1.7, I think it is, or no, 1.4. So I could just check if the distance is less than 2. Because if the player was like right here, the distance would be 2. So as long as it's less than 2, it counts as like being in range of hitting the player. I think that makes sense. Oh shit, sorry. I have not been reading chat. I'd much rather gamble my 1% chance on indie game success. I don't think it's 1%. I think if you make a great game, it'll hit. And so far, your game has like the most juice I've seen out of a game. So I'd say you have at least a 1.4% chance. College was a pain in the ass. Too much academic jargon and papers and useless things. Only benefit is a roadmap of what to learn in a degree. I actually... My college was like a vocational college where there wasn't like a huge amount of paperwork. There wasn't a huge amount of like academic stuff. It was just like you're going to a programming class. You learn programming. And you have one English class, and it also takes care of your history credit. And I didn't have to take like chemistry or shit in my college. And I loved that. Also, Lost Stars, that was not MS Paint, that's Light Shot. And then I can draw on the screen. Okay, so if playerdiff.length is less than 2, then I'll return just for now. I gotta have to write code on paper and essays about websites and programming concepts. Dude, I would hate that. I would hate that. I didn't have to write a single essay in college. I loved that. I need to make some changes to this, but I think whenever I move this to a state machine, it'll work. So now the enemy doesn't move into you. Now what I can do is I can say... Oh, how did I do this? It's attack action new. Does this have a constructor by chance? The main purpose of my current game is just to learn how to finish and release a commercial Steam game that I can do better for the next one. Oh yeah, whenever you say the next one, you mean the server game project that we all love so much? The server game project? With... Honestly, I really liked this, by the way. Someone did a little bit of like 3D concept work for the server game. Obviously, it needs a little bit of work, like, for the actual scenery. But this is kind of like the colors and like everything that I had in mind, at least personally. I really like this. But you're of course talking about the server game, right? Also, I've seen var on Stack Overflow a lot. I'm assuming it means variable. Apparently the professors at my college don't ever use them. So in Godot, var is just the start. Like, this is how you declare a variable. There are certain languages like... I'll pull it up really quickly. We'll see if I can write C++ in front of everyone. So here's C++. And what you could do is you can have an int count. Oh, I just wrote like it was Godot. Something like this. Why did you not print F? Is print F not print to... Oh, no, it does. So 0. The difference is in languages like these, you can also declare things under var. And it will kind of... I lied. Why does... Hold on. C++ var keyword. Or no, it's called... Sorry, it's called auto in C++, right? Yeah. So in certain programming languages, you can have it automatically assume what type you're talking about based on the variable. And so instead of declaring int and like car, which car would you need single quotes like that. So instead of declaring things like that, you can have everything declared as auto. And this is valid, but this is terrible because like there's no guarantee. Like let's say you have like a more complex class. I hate it. I hate not being able to tell, like not explicitly saying what variable this is. Or let's say you have a function. Like let's say we have get var return 0. We'll say return like 12 or something. So the code knows what this variable is going to be. Gitvar was not declared in the scope because Gitvar has to be declared above it because it's C++. There we go. So you can see that this code works, but let's say that the code we're writing is all the way down here. What is this? What variable type is this? You have no idea. There's also, like, what if I change this to a car? And return X. What variable type is this? You have no idea, but if you do car, I know that's a car. You do int, I know that's an int. So, certain languages let you just, like, mush these together. Hate it. It's disgusting. I would never use it. Godot, this is just how you declare a variable. Oh, hi, cat. Hello, cat. Ugh. And programming is going to become slower now because I have a cat in my lap. Let me see if I have a picture of her in the server from Bitlytic in pet pictures. Yeah, here we go. Here's the creature. Cat name reveal. Well, the cat is a calico. And so, of course, being a really creative person, her name is Callie. You know, as you do. I see. Was always confused by the 300 vars in every Stack Overflow forum that I saw. I don't know what you mean by that. But there is var, like, certain languages just use this to say make a variable. If you think that is a cute motherfucker, check out my mom's cat. My mom, like, rolled like an S-tier cat whenever she got this dude. But, like, he also has, like, small problems. Like, he does this for some reason. I don't know why he sits like this. I don't know why he does this. This is such, like, a weird thing to do. He's so weird. This is also, like, the skinniest cat I've ever seen. Like, look at this dude. This dude looks so skinny, right? This dude looks like he would weigh, like, maybe, like, 8 pounds. He weighs 15 pounds. He's so dense. But anyways. What was I doing? What was I doing? We were doing able to attack player. Okay. So I want an attack action. Does this have a constructor? No. Can I override init on this and then say super and pass in attack action dot attack? Or sorry, not attack action. Action type. Can I do that? Godot totally allows that. That is sick. So let's say I do that. So we have an attack action. Ooh, okay. Actually, new problem. Or no, not a new problem. This takes in a vector. Okay, we're good. So I can say var attack equals new, or attack dot new. You said, what is this super thing? Let me read about it. Do you want to read about it, or do you want me to tell you? Because I can answer the question, but if you want to go read about it first, you can do that. And, like, see if you understand it. So player diff is the direction. And then I would like to set the weapon. I don't have a weapon currently. I'm not going to load one here. I'm going to actually preload this. Or no, did preloading cause issues before? It totally did. We're going to find out if it causes issues here. Var weapon equals reload. We'll give him the axe. This is a type of basic weapon for now. Okay, so now inside of the player, or I guess inside of entity, I have take damage. I'm gonna print out health. And then print out took %d damage and format in the damage variable. So if I stand still, so next turn, so whenever I press 5 on my numpad, I should take anywhere between... dice size of 2, that would be 1 or 2. I should take 1 to 2 damage. I did. Let's go. And then we keep taking damage for forever. So let's implement death. So super calls methods from extended classes. Yes. So for specific example, in, let's say, action, attack action. So attack action extends entity action, and I have this function called init, which is just the constructor for this class. And I wanted to call this function with passing in a variable the second I create attack action. So instead of like needing to do like attack action is a new attack action of type attack type and whatever, I just want to have this guy specify this. So specifically, if you do super by itself, it'll call a method of the exact same name. So in this case, it would also call the init function here and pass in the type. I want to say that you can also do super dot and then something else. Yeah, so you can also call methods by doing super dot string. So if you do it without a name, it'll call the same method. If you do it with a name, it'll call specifically that method. I mean, that's very useful for... I'm also writing this a little bit stupid. This variable should be about this. We try to adhere to the style guides a little bit. Okay, so now also I can attack the enemy if it gets close. I can hit the enemy hits me. It doesn't show it, but they are taking damage. So let's implement death, because I think that's a good place to go right now. So we have attacking player. So now we're going to do death. So how do I want to do death, actually? Because I could just queue free, but I think that would cause an issue. Actually, I'm going to double check. I'm going to say this now. I think queue free would cause an issue because we're storing the enemies in a map. So that would specifically cause problems when this dies. Yep, there we go. So this caused an issue because entity is still in the map, but it's freed. So we're not going to do that. We're going to defer this to the world. On enemy, yeah, or on entity, yeah. This will pass in an entity. It'll return void. So we want to do, first off, if it's the player, or if entity is player, to do game over stuff. But for now, I'm just going to print the player fucking died. And we're also going to do entities. I believe there's just a dot remove, dot erase, dot erase. So this function takes in a specific type. Ooh. Wait, okay, hold on. Never mind. So this returns, this takes in the key. I think that'll be fine for now. I'm also going to drop a to-do here. I'm going to say to-do also account for multiple entities if we have that. So I'm thinking ahead a little bit, but if whenever I want to fix entities being able to override positions, and I do end up allowing multiple entities in a spot, that's going to cause an issue here because I'm just going to erase whatever's in that spot. But I'll need to defer this to the actual, like, if we end up doing like a world slot or something that the enemies can like be in, which I might end up doing that. So I'm going to go ahead and erase entity.grid position. So this kills whatever's in that spot. And then we're going to say entity.queueFree for now. So we're going to defer this to the grid world to handle this. So I think now that works. If I walk up, beating the shit out of him, he dies. If I move, it still crashes. Trying to assign invalid previously freed instance. Process entities. So it still thinks there's an entity there. Is this removes the dictionary entry by key? If it exists, returns true. Otherwise, false. Oh, because I'm never calling this. I haven't called this yet. Duh. I just added the function and forgot to make it. So when we add the entity, I'm going to say entity.died.connect on entity death. There we go. I think that's what I want to do. So if I kill this guy, problem. Method expects one. I didn't emit myself. Self. And this will pass out the entity. There we go. So he's dead. Okay, there we go. So that works. So it's not pretty. It's not perfect. There will be issues. But for now it works. For now it's fine. So that is done. God, okay. Sorry, I'm thinking about this one. This is one that I'm still like thinking about as I'm writing things. And I'm gonna need to take care of it before I do a lot of this stuff. But I think for now, I'm going to make the items like a resource. Because right now, the only resources we have are an axe and a sword. And these aren't even items. These are weapons. Which is not... Like, this is not an item. I'm actually not sure how I would want to do that. I think that this would extend item, maybe. Let's see. Let's play around with it. So weapon.gd is where? Then there's source data. Okay. So we're going to make an item. Also, if anyone has any music recommendations for like from video games or anything like that, do feel free to drop those because I'm looking for more music to expand this playlist because it's only about 4 hours long. So what can I bring over to this from weapon? Okay, so we don't actually have a sprite. So let's do a sprite. Var, or I guess we'll call it texture, which will just be a texture 2D. This will be editable. I guess let me explain what my thought process is for making this. So the idea is we're gonna have an item class, and then other things will extend items. So for example, we would have it a weapon item. Maybe we'll have like an equip a full item, or like an armor item or something like that. Why are you so obsessed with the Pikaniku soundtrack? The whole soundtrack from Super Mario 64. I actually think I only have like one song from Super Mario 64, or maybe two. Is it gonna say Koji Kondo Mario 64? I only have file select and staff roll. We're gonna listen to staff roll. Now that you've brought it up. So for these items, so these will be a resource. So let's say that one of these days, like there's an item that you can use that does like some crazy shit. There will be a script associated with that item, probably specifically for that item, and then there will be a resource saved on disk. And I think that'll be a nice balance between being able to change things on the fly and also hold up, I have to ban someone from Twitch chat because I just... And there we go. Sorry, someone came in advertising cheap viewers. Okay. So I think this will strike like a nice balance between like having scripts attached to certain items and also being able to change them on the fly. So let's do that. So I'm also going to change weapon to extend item. Oh, I forgot to make class name. Class name item. JW, until you own Rain World, I don't want you buying any viewers on Twitch. Until you're out there playing the beautiful game known simply as Rain World with this guy, I don't want you buying viewers. So let's see. So what was I doing? So under resources, I'm gonna now... I should be able to give a texture. I don't. Why don't you have a texture? Let me reload this and see if that does it. So now does this have... Yeah, okay, so now this has texture. So we can load in any one bit as this needs to be an Atlas texture specifically. So for example, we're editing the axe. I can make this... Make it this one. We'll make it this one. I like this one better. And then we can make the sword also an Atlas texture. It's like the world's most like raggedy ass sword. I don't feel like listening to you right now, Cave Story. Sorry. I don't know why I'm opening this like that's going to change anything. So now we have a texture. What can we do with that? How would I want to do that? So alongside the item resource, I also want to have like an item entity that would be in the world. And this item entity has the item inside of it. So that... Sorry, I'm thinking about it also. Entities have the ability to like process. And I think it'd be really funny if items could move. I think it'd be really funny if items could move. Or like do things on their own. Dude, this cat is killing my productivity. I just look down at her and she just meows. She's so sweet. So let's do that. So let's make an item entity, which would be under source, entity, new script, item entity. Class name, item entity, extends entity. Okay, so here's what I'm thinking. Let me set up a scene, but the scene is going to be set up so that we have the top level node and then a sprite attached to it. And then based on the item that we have, we can assign a texture. I think that makes sense. Can I... Okay, new question. Let's say I'm in the main scene and I toss down like an enemy right here. Am I able to edit anything about this? Can I make this like a... Like, can I tell this enemy that I want it to have double health? Dude, Aquatic Ambience is so good. Even like the old, like, from the SNES, no like audio changes, like shitty quality. It's still so good. So can I use... I was going to say data layers, but I don't know if that's right. I don't even know what this does. Any item data. How does this work? Does anyone know how this works? Is this something that I can, like, just toss onto anything? JW, you didn't know that Aquatic Ambience was from Donkey Kong Country? That is, like, such a disgusting sentence to hear. I expect better. Let's see, can I... Okay, we're gonna look this up, because I don't know how this works. So, here's some live debugging. Godot for custom data layers. We go to Reddit. What am I missing? Class tile set. Data. Hit custom data layer. Move custom data layer. Remove custom data layer. So I can set it. Layer index, layer name. Move it to that. Add custom data layer to position. Oh, you know what? I don't think this does what I want it to. As I'm reading it. Like, if I do... I don't think that does what I want it to. And I think that's fine for now. So let's just do... I'll go ahead and preload in like just an axe. We'll put the axe on the ground. That's insane. Wait, JW, have you never played Super Mario 64? Because if not, I'm going to have to assign you homework. There's no way you've never played Super Mario 64. Have you played Ocarina of Time? Have you played any Nintendo 64 game? You need to play Super Mario 64. It's one of the greatest games ever made. Even just like as a 3D platformer, it is like the best feeling 3D platformer. So what am I doing? So this spawns in, I think, if I make a scene, which would be... Actually, let me make this its own folder. Item. I do know what libsm64 is. I didn't know that there was a Godot version for it. libsm64 Godot. Ooh. Okay, now hold on. You're getting starred. I'm checking this out sometime. Do I know who made this? Raw Mario? Who are you? Raw Mario. How do I see people's... Oh, let me go to my GitHub page. My profile. Raw Mario. I don't think I know you. Okay, let me... Oh god, how did the tile set? New scene. Scenes? No, sorry. Source. Entity. Item. Item entity. That is a crazy thing to have read in chat. I glanced over for a second. Only thing I know Nintendo is Sonic and Mario kissing meme. Oh god. This isn't the same world that I grew up in. I'm not even that old. Grew up with the PS2. Dog, I did too. Dog, I also grew up on the PS2. That was my main console growing up, but I still played the greats. Like the Nintendo 64. When did the Nintendo 64 come out? I want to say 94. 64 release date. 96. By the time I was old enough to play games, the Nintendo 64 was like... How old would that be? Like 10 years old? The Nintendo 64 was already decently old by the time I was old enough to play games. And I still went back and I played Pokemon Snap, I played Pokemon Stadium, I played Super Mario 64. Yeah, I feel kind of the same. I haven't touched any of the main consoles past, like, PlayStation 3. Except for, like, the Switch. Nintendo as a company is really annoying. Nintendo as, like, a video game developer is really good. It really pisses me off how much, like, of a difference there is. Ooh, I need to get my cat down. Get down. I love you, but get down. Ugh. My feet are falling asleep because I had to sit cross-legged for her. Also, how's it going, Stu? Or would you rather be called Cisco? Did I play Tears of the Kingdom? If so, what did I think of it? I got so fucking bored of that game. Like, so quickly. Breath of the Wild was fun. Breath of the Wild felt like a masterpiece. I picked up Tears of the Kingdom. I got, like, 3 or 4 hours into it, and I was like, this just feels not nearly as fun. It feels like it's a little bit too open. Or, like, I don't know. What was I doing? I wanted to add a placeholder sprite for this really quickly. Item entity. Sprite. Quick load. Kenny 1-bit. Oh no, this can't be right. Hold up. Atlas texture. Quick load, Kenny. And I'll like center it on like something that just looks like this. That'll just be the item placeholder. Okay, so now we have a line of axes in the world. I don't catch up with chat. Breath of the Wild is an S-tier chill game. Here's the game deviated from that because Nintendo can't make a mainline game without trying to force an innovation. Yeah. Yeah. Breath of the Wild was so good. Tears of the Kingdom just didn't hit the same for me. Quick question. Did you edit a state machine for this project's player? No. And I don't know if I will because since it's a turn-based game, it's kind of just like taking things one turn at a time. So I probably won't do a state machine for the player. However, it is on my to-do list to add a state machine for these guys. I guess it's kind of weird that I'm using this as the player and I'm using this as the enemy because this looks more like a player, but these guys will have state machines. They don't currently because they are this amalgamation of code of things that I haven't dropped out of yet. Like, I think I want to separate these into separate states because right now I'm doing like if they can't see the player but they could see the player, and I'm doing like if we've already hit our reaction time, like things like that. I would rather handle those in individual states, but right now I'm just like trying to make it work because I don't want to abstract out too many states, and once I get it working, I think that would be a good spot where I can be like, okay, well, here are the states that I definitely want for these guys, and then I can like concretely say what the functionality will be. Can I explain the difference between action raw strength and action pressed? I can. Here, we can do this quickly. So for the player, or in the player, sorry, not for the player. Let's say I add this input map called like, we'll just call it like my action for now. So if I bind this to W, so whenever I press W, it'll fire. So if I say if input is action pressed, my action, print, my action is pressed. So, I mean, we'll start with like the simple things. So if I hold W, it'll run it every single update. If I make this is action just pressed, it's, if I'm holding W right now, but it only presses it one time, it presses it the frame that it becomes pressed. If I do get action raw strength, is that the name of the function, or is it get action strength? It is get action raw strength. So, or actually, we'll just do comment this, print input dot get action raw strength my action. So by default, this is W. If I press it, it becomes 1. And so you might be like, that's not very useful. And you would be right, kind of. However, if I get out my Xbox controller and I map this action to joystick up, now you can see that as I push, I need to restart the project. As I push up on the joystick, it changes. That's that. That's the difference between action raw strength and is action pressed. So this one is for if it's pressed any amount, or if it's past, I believe, the dead zone, which we can actually test. So for example, if I push up just a little bit, so I guess it's like after the dead zone amount, it looks like, which I'm assuming the dead zone amount is half, like 0.5. Yeah, so if I change this to like 0.9, restart the project, so we can see it doesn't become pressed until after the dead zone. So it's really good for like triggers. Like if you want a trigger to be pressed a certain amount, you can do that. Or if you want to make it so that your player moves slower, depending on how much the joystick you're pressing, you can do that. There is a difference between action strength and action raw strength. Okay, ignoring the action's dead zone. So I'm assuming, for instance, if I do get action strength, because the dead zone is at 0.9, it's not going to change. Yeah, so like you can see that I'm pressing up almost. It's only after I reach past a certain threshold that it kind of changes. And I can probably show that a little bit better if I do get action raw strength. Action. So we'll call this like raw. And then regular. Or we'll call it just reg. So they're like at the same. So you can see, oh, I need to put like a space. Sorry. So you can see that they're both 0. As I increase my like joystick press, it doesn't do anything until we pass 0.9. So once I hit 0.9, then regular starts like interpolating between that and the full strength. So the strength is like a meter of how long. So not how long, but how hard you're pressing it. So if you think of like a controller. So here, I'll just to make things a little bit clearer. So Xbox controller. So if you think of this, let's not do that because that might show my location. I don't want it to do that. So if you think of this like controller, so as you push the joystick up, it's a measure of how far up the joystick it is. So if you're pressing none, it's 0. If you're pressing all the way up, it's 1. And then in between, there are like different values. Certain buttons like only have a strength of 0 or 1 because they can only measure that. But things like the triggers or the joystick can measure in between values. I hope that kind of clears it up. Let me kill this input now. Okay. So I guess now we have the item world entity and an items resource. So we're already like halfway done with that. So how do I want to pick up items? So let me say I move around. The items don't do anything. I don't like the way that something's off. The items are offset. Why are they offset? This should be here. And entities, because we're not registering them, because I forgot to register them to the world. There we go. Now they're snapped to the grid. So now they're actual entities. And they shouldn't block movement. They do block movement. They don't block movement, but they block line of sight. Weird. Why? Do they block line of sight? Hold on. They do. They shouldn't. So there should be a can see. Oh, because we're just checking if blocks vision. Oh, sorry. If cell and a cell blocks vision. So if there's something there and we're blocking vision. There we go. So now we can walk over that. That's kind of how we want it. Let me make sure the player dying works. So if I'm just skipping turns, yeah. The player fucking died. And now nothing happens. So the world freezes, but I want to handle death at some point. Like a game over screen or something. So how do we want to do an inventory? I don't know why I'm searching there. Like there's a thing already called inventory. Let me commit something up really quickly as well. I think it's good to make often commits. So stream roguelike git add dot git commit So what are the things that we've done already in the last hour and a half? So there's a tile map that maps world entities. We have basic items, and we have a couple enemy tweaks. So we'll just say tile map, items, enemy tweaks. And then push that up. I would also like one day to set up auto build for the GitHub repository, because I have, for example, I want to say Aphantasia has it, or it's called Ludum Dare something, right? Yeah, this one. Let me make sure that doesn't have any API keys or anything. No, it doesn't. For example, this project has it so that whenever I push, which I took this from this article, whenever I push, it runs the... Where's the... It'll download Godot, and then it'll run a build on Godot, and then it'll upload it to itch.io. And I would love to set that up for this at some point so that people can kind of like play it live as changes happen. But currently, it's not much of a game, so we're not doing that. Currently, it's a line of sight simulator and items, which is a lot more boring. So let's do inventory. So I guess the inventory is more of a data component than anything else, because anything can have an inventory. So we'll toss that there. And this is not a node. In fact, this isn't anything. This is just an inventory. And then we'll have a var items, which will be an array of type item. Is this set by default? Funk in it. I actually don't know if Godot makes automatic arrays. So we'll find out. So under player, we'll say inventory is a new inventory. And I think that should be enough. So this will print. Okay, it is an empty array. Cool. Because I know in certain other languages, like Java, you have to specify that you want a new array. But I guess it makes sense that this is automatically handled for you. So let's say... Let's make just a couple of helper methods. So, for example, func... Okay, hold up, actually. This is a new question. How do we want to handle items? Because I don't know if I want to handle it in such a way that we have like a list of item resources, or if we want a list of item slots that can contain the resources. Because, for example, you can have like 20 arrows, and that count would have to be stored somewhere, and I wouldn't want to just have like an array of like, you know, arrow, 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 my sword, you know, and like 25 more arrows down here. But also, I don't think I want the count to belong to the resource itself, because this is going to be shared by a bunch of different things. So I think in terms of Godot specific implementation, it would make a bit more sense to make a slot that contains the item resource, similar to how Minecraft does it. So let's do that. Let's make an item slot. So this item slot will be class name, item slot. And then we will say we have a count of the items, which will just be an int. Unless we want to have like fractional items, which we're not going to do that. And then we want to have the actual item resource here. And I'm also gonna just, for completeness sake, because I know I'm gonna want this later, I'm gonna make an item. We'll see how that goes. So for this, we're gonna make like a constructor that's just easily, like I can just say like item slot.new and then pass that in. So let's go back to inventory. I guess there's no real reason to have a null item slot. I guess like if an item slot is empty, you just like kill it. So we'll see. So instead of having an array of items, we'll have an array of item slots. And then if we say want to add item, which will be a function that like the world calls on the player's inventory or something like that, then we will take in the item. And what do we want to do? I guess we'll loop over our current items. For I in items, we'll see if the item in that slot is already the item that we have. And then we'll add 1 to it. Say account. We'll also have a count here. Then we can break out of the loop. And then we'll say var item added. So this will be if we're going to loop over all of the slots. If we find a slot that has the item, we're going to add the count to it. And then if we don't find a slot that has the item, then we're going to make a new slot. So slot equals item slot.new. We'll pass in the item and we'll pass in the count. And then we'll say items.add slot. Not called, oh yeah, it's not called add, sorry, it's an end. And then let's say we have, I want to remove a certain count of items. We'll kind of do the same thing here. So item count. So we'll kind of find the same slot. Or I guess because this is also kind of assuming that we only have one slot that can hold items, which I think is fine. What are the benefits of making a class without making it a node or resource? So classes that are just like class name are like strictly for like holding data or manipulating data. Resources are really handy if, like for example, I have this weapon resource, this basic weapon resource, which means that like all this weapon is going to do is when you attack with it, it's going to roll this, like whatever the size of the dice is, this many times, add those up, and then add on a constant amount. And since my plan is there's probably going to be quite a few of those, I made this a resource, or like items are resources, so that let's say I wanted to make a new weapon, I can easily do that without making a new class. So for example, this is an axe. It rolls a 2-sided die, which is just like a coin. One time, add 0 to it. I have the sword. It rolls a 3-sided die. One time, and adds 1 to it. So like if I wanted to make a new weapon, resource, basic weapon, we'll call this like spear. We roll a 5-sided die with 0 extra constant damage. And then we'll load in... Or sorry, this needs to be an atlas texture. That's the Godot icon. That's not what I meant to load in. So like what looks like a spear in here? Do we have a spear in this? We do. We'll say that's a spear. No, this is a spear. One of these is a spear. This is a spear. Like that's why you would want to make a resource, but you're asking why would you want to have a class that isn't a resource, and that is if you don't want to do that. So if you want it to be like a class that you can just pass in the whole data. So for example, in my enemy class, or sorry, not my entity class. So we have this process attack function. Let's say that one day, like if this was just like damage. So like damage. Sorry, this would be an int. And then one day I want to add like armor piercing. I would have to add an armor piercing value. Change it to take that in here. Whereas instead, if I just use the data class of attack, all I have to do to add, I mean, this would need to be changed, but I could just go into the attack and then do our armor piercing. So it's like useful for like bundling data together or for doing processing on data. So like for an inventory, this doesn't need to extend node because it doesn't need to be seen in the tree. And it doesn't need to extend resource because we don't need to create external versions of it on disk. I mean, maybe dependency injection. There's definitely some places that I'm going to do dependency injection in this. Like specifically, my juice has ruined my game's optimization. How the fuck did you do that? What juice did you add that killed the game's optimization? Unless you added like 12,000 particles. But where was I gonna add dependency injection? Fuck, I don't even remember. There was somewhere that I was gonna add dependency injection with the grid world. I was gonna pass the current state in. But we'll see. So let me make a helper function really quickly. Find item slot. Item slot. Item. God, hold up. Let me think about what I was doing. Var existing slot equals. So we're going to find an item in the slot for the item that we pass in. If existing slot dot count plus equals count. And then we can return. Otherwise, we want to create a new slot and add it to the list. Then for removing an item, we're going to find an existing slot. If existing slot, then we'll say the count gets subtracted to here. And then if existing slot dot count, so if it's ever less than or equal to 0, then we will say items dot erase existing slot. So the idea here is this helper function will just return whatever slot the item is found in. Otherwise, it'll return null. If we found the slot, we will subtract the count from it. If that count ever goes to less than 0, hopefully it should always be at 0. But if it's ever less than 0, we just remove the slot from the inventory. So that should be hopefully good. In the case that we don't have an existing slot, I don't know, we like cry about it or something. What's the use case for dependency injection in that case? So, oh God, where was I going to do dependency injection? I was thinking about that this morning, but I didn't write it down. Was it anywhere in here? Inventory, pick up items, ambient tiles. No, I don't remember where it was. But the basic idea was that like, for the entity instead of like instead of having a reference to the grid world can kind of pass itself in, so we aren't like we're not super dedicated to knowing about the parent location or like whatever's going on elsewhere. We kind of just like have the parent pass it in. It's not a pattern that I'm super familiar with, but it's kind of just like allowing classes to pass themselves in. Maybe it was for the action. Hold on, maybe it was for the taking an action. Yeah, I think it was for taking an action. So like for entity action, I was gonna have a funk do action, which passes in the world state. And right now this would do nothing, but something like an attack action would have the function called do action, which would take in the world state. And because this, because this has a weapon, instead of deferring it into the world, so like right here, if we take an attack action, we run this attack action function, but instead, what we would be doing is, instead of this match case, we would just be doing action dot do action and pass in myself. So it kind of defers it to the entity or to the action. And this is complaining because it doesn't have anything. So that would be where is it? Attack entity would be here. So it would kind of take care of that for itself. Which I don't know if that's better or worse. But that's kind of where I had the idea at. I guess like perform action wouldn't need to exist then. It would just be action dot do action. Entity, or not entity, sorry. Maybe it would be entity. I don't know. But I need to think about that more before I actually go ahead and do that and toss it onto the action. But that is one place that I had in mind for dependency injection. Does this still work? Did I break anything? Not yet. Oh shit, you know what's happening? My player, I'm trying to move onto the tile. I'm killing the fucking axe. So let's not do that, but it is cool to see that it works. So for the item, let's make a new action for now, because this is going to take up a turn, is what I've decided. So we're going to say pick up. Which, this is going to be gross. I would like to move this to like the action class, like I was saying. But I think for now I'm going to hold off on doing that because I think there are more important things. Oh, I actually had a comment about this, but I think there are more important things to take care of right now than to worry about this code being clean. Action type dot pick up. Pick up entity. So we'll just E is the thing being passed in, right? Yeah. Okay, cool. So the player would be performing the action, entity is passed in. Okay. So I guess I hate doing this because this is really against like all composition stuff. The inventory is actually going to belong to the entity class. And then we're just going to toss another gross function in here, because why wouldn't we? So func pick up entity, or pick up action. I don't know. So in this case, we're going to do the same thing here. So we're going to get the target position. We're going to get the target entity. And then if target entity is item entity, we're going to do target entity dot item. Or we're going to do, sorry, entity dot inventory dot add item. And we're going to pass in target entity dot item, target entity dot count. I actually need to add a count to this as well. Team is already for the meetup. Managed to add all the game jam audio in like an hour. Let's go. So when are you adding the like the multiplayer netcode and things? What the fuck is this? What is this? Dude, Hano pisses me off because this motherfucker makes games that look like this, that looks this cool, and then he doesn't make them like publicly playable, or he doesn't like finish them. Like this looks sick. This already looks so cool. Is this in Godot? It's got some crazy ass like post-processing going on. Yeah, he makes Devil Daggers type games. Like I think from Hano in Showcase. Like he's just been like working on shit like this for like months. Bro has got like, yeah, you're so right. Hano is insane in so many ways that you just wouldn't expect. Let's see, what was the first thing that he sent? This was back in May. Like, he's just doing crazy shit. Alright, back to this now that we got a little break. Let's see. So now we're adding the item to the inventory. I think that's fine. So now I need to add the player movement, or I have to have the player. I would really like at some point to do like an action menu. So like I'm gonna keep bringing up Caves of Qud. I'm actually gonna open up Caves of Qud in a second. Hold up. Let me swap to a different scene. BRB. Yeah, BRB, but like not actually. I just wanted to open up Steam without it being on screen. I'm opening up Caves of Qud now. Here we go. Good luck, Jeppy. I mean, let us know like whatever feedback they give, because I'm really interested to hear it. I think the main thing is going to be that they love how the game feels, because that game has like some insane like juice to it. So here we are in Caves of Qud. So this is the game that I keep referencing. So for example, if I want to interact with something, I can hit Control and space, and then it gives me the ability to choose a direction. And if I choose to the right, I get this context menu that I can open up things and do actions. I think eventually I would want to have a menu like this instead of just like changing the way the player moves based on what they push up against. That's like the idea. Like I can target this or like whatever, and that doesn't like take a turn, but like things like that I think would be really handy. Or you can just like move. So yeah, just wanted to show that for a second. Let me kill Steam. I think for now, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do some like different ideas. So for example, if we can move to this, yeah, this is doing like some bro shit. It really does feel like a game jam, like code-wise. So for example, if we can move to the grid, or let me do... if we can do grid world, not get entity grid position plus input vector. So if the entity is null or entity dot blocks, we'll worry about blocking movement later. I'm actually going to drop it to do allow movement over entity. So if it's null, we move. Else or elif entity is item entity. Then we'll do action equals entity action dot new of type action type dot pick up. Or I guess I can probably just set the action type like I was doing up above. I don't need to make a new object. I think that's it? Does that work? It's like if I move to the axe. Nope. It doesn't. Hey Sakay, how's it going? We're working on a roguelike. And we're printing out something. I don't know what we're printing out, but we are. What? Print items. Oh, because it's an array of item slots in the item. What is it? Why is it printing that? Oh! Oh, it's printing that because all... because I tied the inventory to the entity class. Every single one of these walls has an inventory as well. I see. That makes sense. For now. We might end up coming back to that later. It's good to hear that it's going. You know, it going is always at least a somewhat good thing. It's going well over here. Today we've knocked out a couple of things, but we have some cleaner pathfinding, some cleaner line of sighting, things like that. Enemies can move around. Ooh, that was a problem. I don't know what the fuck that was. Okay, that enemy got obliterated by the other one. Why did that enemy get obliterated by the other one is the question that I have. I'm gonna make an issue. That's an issue that I don't know how to fix. Issues. Enemy can obliterate other enemies by stepping on them. That shouldn't happen. I thought that I fixed that earlier. But I guess if they're just like walking the way that they want to go, it doesn't calculate that. I'm not sure. I'll have to figure that out because that was a problem. It might be an issue with the grid actually. Like for example, A star grid. If E dot blocks movement or the entity is passable. Say all the entities are not passable. Oh no, that's gonna cause an issue. Fuck, I need to figure that out. I would like to have entities fight each other, but this is not them fighting each other. This is they removed each other from the world, and that wasn't supposed to happen. I wonder if there's an A-star grid change. Oh, is my cat about to do something stupid and jump into my lap again? Yep, there you are. Hi. Ugh. Hello, cat. How's it going? You're really causing problems for me right now. Okay, let me take a look at my old project that I did something similar with, because I don't remember this being an issue there. And I'm kind of curious what I did pathfinding-wise. Oh god, this is like some hard code to read, I won't lie. What is the default heuristic? Because apparently I set this before. Euclidean, okay. These are fine. Because I think that's the default. There's just a block's movement. Yeah, we're gonna worry about that later. I think I'm gonna come back to the pathfinding thing because there's a bigger issue there. Which is fine enough for now. Okay. But what I wanted to do was figure out why the inventory wasn't working. So the inventory, I want to see that we are adding item. Oh wait, no. Is this not add item? Print items. Let me make a custom print function for an item slot. Func to string turn item. That is not adding it multiple times. Oh, because I'm returning early. Duh. We'll just print that here as well. Oh yeah, that's adding it, so I don't know why. Let me see. So pick up entity. Oh, you know what? I know what the problem is. I'm not removing the entity from the world. That's, yeah. Let me make this a separate function that I can just call whenever. Remove entity. Entity. I'll just call it entity. Oh, there we go. Okay, that works. That's like exactly what I wanted. And so now I have an inventory that has 3 of that sword. Or whatever, 3 of that axe. So let's do... Let's see. What do we do now? So I guess that's like inventory kind of done. Picking up items are done. I guess I do gotta work on this now. Because I don't really have like a whole lot of things. Like this making the world full screen, we'll just say is good for now. Ambient tiles like grass would probably be a little boring. Although I guess I could do it. But I didn't want those to be like actually part of the world. Like I kind of wanted the screen to be like... Why use an array for the inventory rather than a map? Why would I use an array for the inventory rather than a map in this look? I guess there's not really a reason not to. Because, like, it could be... Here, we'll see. We'll see, I guess for me, like, whenever I thought of this, I was just like, it'd be easier. But we'll see. We'll say, like, items map for now. God, what's it called in Godot? Or is it just... It's a dictionary, right? Yeah. We don't have a type dictionary because we don't have that yet. Then if we add an item... I guess the only thing that would change would be... We would... find it here by doing... items map dot find... What did I get? And this passes in the item. It's like we could do that. And that's not a problem. And then we could also make a function called, like... I guess we already find the item slots. So that doesn't really matter. So find item slot is fine. Otherwise, we add a new item slot and we say... set? Is there a set? No, it's just this. This syntax. Items underscore sub slot. Sub item. Equals slot. Erase would take in the item. Or sorry, this needs to be changed. And that still works. So I guess the question is, like, why would I use an array over a map? And the answer is, I don't know. I just felt like using an array at the time, but a dictionary / map does make more sense for this. Like, optimization-wise, this is probably faster, but... Oi, Quellis, how's it going? Are you guys streaming today? Because I think you stream on Sundays, don't you? Actually, I guess I can answer that question first by just going to your channel schedule.
Already hit start.
There we go. Don't play the video. Don't do that. Stream in 2 hours. Okay. I might try to stream until 4 so I can send people over your way, but... Ooh, actually, you know what? You stream on YouTube too. Do you know how to redirect on YouTube? Do you know how that works? Because I don't. Because I think I have more people watching on YouTube than Twitch. So like on... Oh god, where is it? Let me see if I can find it. So on Twitch, you can just do like /raid. But on YouTube, that's not a thing, as far as I'm aware. Let's see. Studio, settings. God, I really don't know how this works. I need to learn more about YouTube streams because they don't make much sense to me. Yeah, I've also heard rumors that you can do a raid thing, but I have no idea how. I've heard it's called redirects, but I haven't looked into it much. Arrays are cool because you can type in. Dicks are cool because you can look up directly. Yeah, God, do we have... Hold up, I think there's, Godot typed dictionary. I think we're getting typed dictionary at some point. Was this closed? Is this finished? Duplicate. Closed. Is this added? Hold on. We might actually be getting typed dictionaries. So hold up. Hold up. This would be sick if we do. Okay, you know what? We might be getting... close this as completed in Godot engine Godot. Pull request. Merged into master. Into 4.4. You know what? So arrays are cool because you can do type hints. Guess what? Dictionaries, you're also going to be able to do type hints. It's starting in 4.4. Oh, look at that. Oh my god, that looks so beautiful, dude. Ooh. Dude, I've been waiting for this for like ages. Like literally like since 4.0 came out. I was like, we need this. We're getting type dictionaries. We're so fucking back. Now, we can celebrate just a little bit, but there is one feature in Godot that has not been added yet that I cannot wait for, which is the trait system. I cannot wait until we get traits, because this is similar to interfaces. This thing. This is similar to interfaces, and I would love to have this in Godot. I think, honestly, if type the dictionaries and interfaces make it in to 4.4, I think that would be the best update in Godot history, like, ever. I mean, even with type dictionaries, it's already a contender, you know? Like, that's sick. Also, wait, Quellis, have you seen this syntax? Can I use regex in this? I can't. Have you seen this syntax? When you're looping over something, you can specify the type now. This is a new thing in 4.3. Before, if you did this, it would error, and you had to just use this. Now you can specify a specific type. Which is so fucking cool. Okay, what was I doing? Also, yeah, no, this is sick. Because back in 4.2, I tried doing that, and it broke. And then I think it was on, like, Tuesday or Thursday, I tried doing it, and it just worked, and I was like, this is amazing. So I guess now we'll do this. Because ideally, I want entities to not be able to step on each other's toes. So, hold up. Okay. What does it do if there's items in the list that are the wrong type? I believe it errors out. So, 4E. Sorry, 4E. 4E with a colon with a space. Because I'm consistent for sure. So, like, for process entities, this runs every time the player makes a move. Let's say that I want this to be like a node 3D. I want to say this errors out. If I just, like, kill all of this code. Pass. Or we'll do, like, a print. Processing. I want to say this errors out. It does. So, it's only useful for a place where you know all of the entity values. Like, for example, this is a dictionary. In the new update, it'll be a vector 2i dictionary with a entity on it. So this will be the syntax for next, like, update. So I know that this is going to be guaranteed to be some sort of entity. That's why I do that. But I would totally recommend it if there's a place that you have it, because it makes type hinting so much easier. Because, like, before, what I had to do was, like, for I in entity.keys or whatever, and then say var e of type entity equals entities dot get I, like, stuff like that, which is, like, that is so gross to write. Or sorry, this is entities dot get, which feels really gross to write, but I like being able to just, like, consolidate this into that. Okay, so back to... Yes. I don't know if you were here for the talk, like, 2 minutes ago, but it just got merged into master 2 days ago. So we are, in fact, getting type dictionaries in 4.4. 4.4 has typed dictionaries. I wonder what else is in 4.4. We're going to take a little break to look at this. Back to dictionaries. Improve BB code parsing. Oh, is this related to my issue? Did I... Uh-oh. Oh, no. Okay, this is kind of... Reparent to new node. Okay. Yeah, shift enter doesn't work on YouTube, which really sucks. But, I mean, if you want to do, like... If you put, like, a /in, we'll just pretend that it's a new line. And if you want, I can toss it on stream and just replace it with, like, line breaks. Add last resort lifetime insurance. What the fuck does that mean? Last resort lifetime insurance is such a funny thing to read about Godot. I'm new to coding, only started programming watching yours and Racky's videos lately. Well, welcome to programming. We're happy to have you. What's better about typed dictionaries is because it's static and more optimal. So it's kind of... So I tend to use static typing all over the place, or like as many places as I can. Like for example, this variable's of a type dictionary. This variable's of a type vector2i. This function expects this. It makes your code clearer. It does... I want to say this is still true. From what I've heard, it provides around a 20 to 30% free increase of performance in Godot. I believe there was some measurement that people have done that shows that statically typing your variables actually does increase performance in Godot, which is cool. But it also is just like clarity. You know, like if I just have this function like this, and I come back to my code like 2 months later, I don't know what this is. I can guess that position is of a vector type. Maybe it's a vector 2. Maybe it's a float array or a float vector. Maybe it's an integer vector. Entities.get, what does this return? You know, like if I don't remember what I've done on this project, maybe I think this is a bucket. Like maybe it's a list of entities, or maybe it's just one. So like I have no idea what this returns. But if I do this, no matter how long it takes me to like come back to the project, I read this and I go, okay, well this takes in a vector 2i, that's easy. And this returns an entity, and I don't know what an entity is. I can click on it, and I see, okay, well this is what an entity is. So it's kind of just like statically typing as much as possible. And having a statically typed dictionary would mean that, like currently how dictionaries work is you can use anything as a key and anything as a value. But if you know, for example, this entities is going to be mapped by a position and is going to contain an entity, then like I can specify that. So whenever I come back to the code, I can read it better. Let me copy this into Notepad, and then we can read this. So if variable is, and then a class name, and then an enter, I'm assuming it thing variable will give you IntelliSense. Yes. Yeah. It does. And I really like that, which is why I do it down here. So if I say .e. like what's specific to player, player specifically has accent sort on them for now. And if I do E. You see it says axe and E. Sword. Sorry, I'm still catching up with the messages. Type variables allow us to keep the project consistent between interactions. You become less error or prone to bugs during runtime since the code editor warns you for any potential errors. Yeah, that's really good. Why not C# then? So there's a couple of reasons that I don't use C#. There are definitely reasons you would use C#. Let me open up my mono version of Godot and I can showcase it. So, like, the first off is, like, I really like, I like the syntax of GD script. Like, what was just said in chat was, it's faster to prototype, usually. If I want to open up a project and work on it in Godot, I open up Godot, and then I can open up the script editor. If I want to use C#, I'm going to have to open up either Visual Studio Code or Visual Studio Community Edition. And kind of worry about the runtime of that. And C# is definitely faster, but here we go. So this project doesn't have any C# in it. Let me open it up. So this project does not have C# in it. If I hit play, oh, does it not do it? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm a liar. Maybe it's because it doesn't have C# in it, but there's like some runtime, not runtime, there's some playtime cost to it that personally just bugs me. I also just like using GD script for things like that. Let me see, do I have this? This is open. This is a 4.1 project. I really hope this compiles. Well, this is being annoying. Okay, let me read chat while this is doing things. Oh, yeah. GD script is faster to prototype and implement new features in Godot. C# will give you performance improvements, but C++ will give you more. Yeah, basically that. It's faster to write code in GD script, at least for me. I prefer to use GD script. There's certain things that I don't really enjoy about writing C#, but a lot of it is preferential. Thanks for the explanation. I'm trying to make a basic inventory of my own project at the moment. It's tough. It is. And that's definitely like one of the things that like you want to get right, because like everything uses it. Okay, this project isn't opening. But if I remember what happened... Yeah, there we go. Cosmic Sandwich just said it. Every time you press play, like in Godot, there's like a little save thing. With C#, it recompiles the entire C# project. And so every time you hit play, it kind of adds like maybe like 5, or 5 would be like a high-end estimate of on how much it adds. So it just like, that just bugs me a little bit, personally. But like hitting play like this is like live in like a second. I would only use another language, in this case C++, for functions which cause a huge lag spike for some reason. The most common would be a world generation algorithm. It's way better to have a slow game than have no game at all. Premature optimization is the root of all evil. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like, for example, maybe if this world like ends up being like really slow to process, I might write some of it in C++. Probably won't, but I mean, so far this doesn't need to. If you have a script not even the error in the scene with an error, it still won't run. I don't know how I feel about being able to 5 seconds, like whenever you like hit play, like it'll usually be like 2 or 3 seconds between like you hit start and it'll say like building C# project for like maybe 2 seconds, which isn't a lot, but it's like if you run the game like 20 times, you know, that starts to add up. It's just like you're just staring at a screen for an extra 20 minutes, or for an extra minute. I'm gonna step away for a second because I need to use the bathroom. I need to get something to drink, but I will be right back. Okay, I'm back. What's going on? The 5-second delay reminds me of the time I coded with Unity. Dude, Unity, for all of the things that people hate about Unity, I think my least favorite part of Unity, and the main thing that drove me away from it and onto Godot, was making a new project. Like, if you make a new project with Unity, you just took like a 10-minute detour. You make a new project with Godot, it takes a minute if you are slow. And I hated that about Unity. Because like something I like doing is like if someone has a question, I'll open up Godot, which takes like 5 seconds. I'll make a new project, which takes like 10 seconds, 20 seconds maybe. And then I'm immediately in and I can start like writing code and testing something for like someone's question on Discord. Okay, what were we doing? Unity is awful. You have to rebuild every time you click back into the editor. Sometimes, yeah. A lot of the times, it does do that. Let me see if I can find a tweet by... I want to say it was one top 3. Let me see. I swear that he put it somewhere where it was just like, sorry, Unity. I accidentally clicked inside of the editor, and then it just started crashing. Oh yeah, here we go. Trigger warning, epic Unity moment. My bad for left clicking. Like, look at that. Project browser dot mouse down, busy for 12 seconds. He clicked inside of the editor, and it became busy for at least 12 seconds. That's like unacceptable, you know? It was a great workflow. You can go from nothing to something useful in about an hour. Absolutely. I love it. I mean, like, this project that we have right here is, I want to say, let's see, I've done 3 streams work. This is the 3rd stream working on it. We're probably about, like, 8 or 9 hours into this project. We're still doing, like, fundamental stuff, but, like, I don't know. Feels good. I also... Are we supposed to... Oh, shit, you're so right. I forgot to... Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Here's the tweet that I totally showed you guys already. Trigger warning, epic Unity moment. But yeah, here's the tweet where he clicked on, it says project browser.mouse down, busy for 12 seconds. Which is like not acceptable. Thank you for pointing out that I didn't switch back to the actual desktop, but I tried both of them as a beginner and found it really difficult to learn. All tutorials seem outdated. Godot seems way easier. That's really interesting that you say that Godot seems easier, because I would actually, like, whenever I have friends that get into game dev, maybe this is controversial, I actually tell them to try Unity first, because I feel like there's a lot of things that Godot does that, like, expect you to be, like, an existing programmer. Like if one of your scenes get corrupted in Unity, like, I mean, maybe you're fucked, but it doesn't happen that often in Unity. But in Godot, if one of your scenes gets corrupted, you have to go dig through this file and find out what is broken about it. I come from Unreal, having tried Unity, and Godot feels easier for sure. That's so interesting. I mean, like, I picked up Godot after I already, like, finished college, so, like, I'm not sure. I would like to go back and learn Godot as a newer programmer. I mean, maybe it's come a long way since I tried picking it up. I actually bounced off of Godot, like, I want to say twice before I finally picked it back up. But, like, you have to look at these files, which they're not difficult to read, but, you know, I don't want to wish that on a beginner. That's true, but Unity and Unreal do have more things for them. Like, if you want to do pathfinding in Unreal, you make a box, you put that box inside of the level, and then you tell the player what that box is, and it just handles pathfinding for you. In Godot, you're going to have to do some sort of sacrifice. You're going to have to, like, drop into a Godot Discord server. You're going to have to, like, you're going to repent to be able to get pathfinding to work with like navigation agent and navigation map in Godot. It's also a better engine to build your own things in, I feel. Like if you want to create your own like systems like I'm doing here, it works a lot better. Okay, what were we doing? I need to get back to actually working on this. So we were going to do this. So right now is going to be a big decision for the game, because this is going to matter, which is this is an item in the world. Do I want the player to be able to walk onto the same tile as that? Like if I press up, do I want it to block the player movement, or do I want the player and an item to exist on the same tile? And thinking about Caves of Qud, I want them to be on the same tile, but then thinking about programming that, like I just want them to be in different tiles. So I don't know. Because like the code is going to be gross. I mean, either way, the code's going to be gross. Let's try making like the ability to have multiple entities on the same tile. That's going to require some changes. So I guess the first one would be... this is going to be annoying. This one's going to be annoying as well. Let's start moving these over. So how do I want to do this? Do I want it to be a list, or do I want it to be its own class? I think I'm going to make it its own class. So let's do source. Would it be data? I think it would be data. I might call this a grid cell. This grid cell is going to be... come from GameMaker 2, and Godot is also easier for me, specifically because GM2 doesn't have nodes. Dude, I could not figure out GameMaker. I tried using GameMaker. That engine did not make any sense to me. Like rooms and like just doing functions inside of like blocks of code and having that tied to things, like that just felt really weird to me. I really did not like using GameMaker systems. That engine doesn't work for my brain in the slightest. Not saying it's a bad engine. A lot of people like it. A lot of people have said really good things about it. I cannot use the engine. So we're going to have entities that belong here. So I guess we can append an entity and kind of just trust that we don't pass an entity anywhere. Maybe, potentially. And then we can do remove entity from this. So this is kind of like a bucket approach. I keep calling it buckets because I think about it as like a hash map, where we grab the bucket for that specific cell, and then we search for the entity inside of that bucket, or like a bin or something like that. Hi, Kieran. Love your videos. Thanks for making great content. I'm appreciative that you think it's great content. I'm glad it can help. Hopefully more videos will drop on the channel at some point, maybe. Who knows? Entities dot remove, no, erase. Because I think this one works if I don't have an entity, right? Like if there's no finds and remove is the first value, first occurrence. If it doesn't exist in the array, nothing happens. To remove an element by index, use remove at. Yes, that's what I want to do. And then I can also do func get. Do I need to get entity? Mm, mm, I don't think so. Or maybe I can do like get entities. I don't know why I'm writing this code like this. I could just make everything accessible from elsewhere. I just feel like doing getters right now. After coming from a Unity and CryEngine, I find signals confusing. So did you use events at all in Unity? Because events and signals are like almost certainly the exact same thing. But the basic idea is signals allow, like, instead of calling specifically like manager.restart level, we can allow the manager to call that function whenever certain signals are emitted. So example, if the player dies, we can have a player died signal that emits and the manager listens for that. And whenever that signal is called, we can call the function inside of the manager so that the player doesn't have to tell the manager to reset. The player just emits that it died, and anything that cares can listen for that signal. That also allows us to kind of like add in different things. Like at later, if we want to check, like whenever an enemy dies, we want to reset the level, or like whenever an ally dies or something, we want to reset the level. Instead of having to have the ally tell the manager to reset as well, we can just have the manager listen for the ally died signal and then also reset the level then. And we can even use the same function for listening if we set it up certain like ways. So signals are like a very, I mean, they're important. I only have 2 currently, which, you know, as you do. But there are other projects that I've had that have had like tons of signals. I actually don't know if I connect to one thing. So you mentioned, especially when trying to connect signals between objects that are spawned at runtime. So this is how you would do it. So for example, this function, whenever an entity is spawned, it adds itself to the manager. And we can call like the name of the signal and then .connect to a function. And that's this signal. So whenever the entity is spawned, the like world manager listens for that signal now. Okay, so back to this. I want to say that that's everything. I guess we can also check. So we can check for en entities. So if any of the entities block movement, return true. Otherwise, return false. And then we can also do blocks vision. And I might revisit this later. But I think for now, this is what we want to do. So blocks vision. And that would be really helpful for in the grid world. So now we're going to have spells, which is a dictionary. Oh, God. Oh, Lime, I appreciate that the videos are helpful. It's really nice to hear. Speaking of signals, having states emit their own signals to let other states know shit is the way to go, or should I have like a central state that manages conversations between states? So, there are there's multiple schools of thoughts. The way that I have personally been doing it state machine wise is I've been having states emit their own signal, but you could also have like something like this, where you call like process on the state, and then if it returns, you can have it return a state, and then use that to kind of like transition from the state. So for example, I'm going to pull up some code really quickly that hopefully I can show off. Open recent We'll say that this one is fine to open up, hopefully. I might have to open up Ubuntu first. I almost certainly do. Okay, so for example, and I'm going to use this because I know Super Mario 64 like really, really well. So if we have Mario, I want to say it's called Mario Actions Moving. Yeah. So for example, if we're in the crawling state, we do all of our processing. And then at any point, if we, like for here, if we want to begin talking, it'll return a new like state of act talking. And then wherever this is called, which should be here, we save it in a variable. And then we return that back out. So you can have it so that whenever the state processes and actually does things, it kind of bubbles up its own like state transition. Or you could have a signal that emits it whenever. I personally use signals because, like, let's say I want to change state mid, like, whenever a signal, whenever a timer finishes, I want to change state. I could do that in the process function by checking if the timer's expired, or I can just, whenever the timer expires, emit the signal. And then it would change the state immediately. So it's like, it's kind of a question of how do you want to go about it. I should have grid cell. Hey, Emu, how's it going? So grid cell in entity, or is it called cells? Yeah, cells dot values. So now I should have access to the cell. How do I want to do this? I guess I can do for e in cell.get entities. If e is player, continue. Otherwise, we'll just do this. Yes, I think. So what this means is we kind of walk through all of our cells and we process them. Ooh. Shit. This is going to cause an issue, actually. This is going to cause an issue. So let's say, for example... Okay, well, this isn't going to work. Let's look at this map. So let's say we have this enemy. And the enemy decides that he wants to move to the right. So his final position will be right here. Because we're going down this grid, or this cell processing entities, this cell processing entities, this cell processing, and so on, what will end up happening is we'll approach this, process, approach this, process, process, process. Then we get to this guy. His process says, I want to move to the right. And so we process the cell, he ends up moving to the right. So he's now here. We step over, we process this again. That guy has already been processed. But now he's going to get processed a second time. And for some reason, he's like, okay, well, I'm going to move to the right. So he does that. So he just instantly teleports as many to the right squares as he wants. Whereas moving up and to the left wouldn't cause that. That's going to be a problem. Let me think of how I want to approach that. Because it might just be as simple as adding a flag on the entity to see whether they've been processed this frame, and I think I'm just going to do that. The use case is the following. My character has a roll and an air dash. You can only perform one at the time. If you roll out of a platform, you should not be able to dash. If you dash when you land, you can immediately roll. How would... If you dash, when you land, you can immediately roll. I want to say signals are probably best for that then, because you can kind of arbitrarily choose when they get interrupted. Like if you connect a signal to like whenever you land or something, I think that's a signal. I'm not sure. Let's do Okay, let me do this. So entity, we'll say process. This frame is false. Also, this is a const. This should be up here. Oh, this is gonna get messy for a minute. So, if we process the entity, this frame, we will, let's see. So under grid world, when we process the entities, we do that, perform action. But after the action is done, we say entity dot process this frame equals true. Then once all of the entities have been processed, once everything has been done, we will loop over this again and say e dot process this frame equals false. So that way, in this case, if we come up to this guy, so we process this done, we process this, he moves over, so he's now here. But because his processed flag is set to true, it will process all other entities on his square and then continue going by. I want to say is fine. We'll see. And then I also need to do if e dot process this frame. Or if not process this frame, we'll do that. Or I like early return, so we'll do the opposite. We'll do that. This is still going to break. I don't know why I hit run. I know that's not going to work. So where are we using get entity? We're doing that. I like that I already called that cell in the other project. So this will return just a cell now. So I'll say get cell. Pause returns grid cell. Cells.get pause. Add entity. So what we're going to do is we're going to say cell is equal to get cell. I think that should be fine. Do I want this to be a dictionary now that I'm thinking about it? Because this could be... I kind of always want cells to be there. I think I'll worry about that later. So we'll get the cell. If the cell doesn't exist, we'll say it's a grid cell dot new. We'll add the entity, and we'll also say cells sub e dot grid position is equal to cell. Okay, there's other issues. Oh god. I think I can do get cell. So I want to say that should be the equivalent call. Ooh, okay. Now we've got another problem, which is what do we do in the case of attacking a specific cell? Do we attack every entity in the cell? Oh god, this is getting really complex. Maybe the answer isn't this. which is okay if it is. Let me see. So let's say, because I do want the items to not block movement. I do want the player to be able to walk over items, because otherwise, like, I feel like navigating the world would be, like, terrible. I could just make a specific exception for specific entity types. Let's see. Maybe for now. I don't know. I do want to keep going with this to see if this works better. Items and characters should count as different types of entities. One character per cell mini items. Okay, so what you're saying is, for example, we could have like the cell will contain entities. Like it'll contain like, I guess what we would call like non-characters. Although there's also like a couple other questions. Like for example, this wall. So let's say we have a wall. Do we also have an item in the wall? Or can we have a character in the same space as the wall? I do think that's definitely like a good thought of just like, it's really bad to call it this because I don't know how that would be, but like having like a main entity. Like having one type of entity that can stand in that spot. Because there are also, like, let's say we have like a door. And the player walks into that. Like maybe we open up the door and unlock it. We would want the player to stand there. I do think that's a good idea though. Is like having the differences between like characters and non-characters. Let's try it. Fuck it. Let's try it. I do like that idea. That's a really good idea. So we'll add a character entity, which will probably be... How do we determine that? How do we determine what a character entity is? Is that something that is determined in the entity class, or will that be like a character entity class that extends entity? And I'm getting really tired of saying that word. It's like when you read something and it just doesn't, like, it just devolves into letters. That's what I'm feeling right now with entity. It's just, that's just 6 letters to me right now. Okay, let's keep it simple. Keep it simple, stupid, and we'll come back to it if it ends up being a problem, which it might. We'll just add a flag called isCharacter. By default, false. For enemy, it's true. For player, it's true. I guess I would also like to be able to... Maybe we won't have it. I was thinking about it in terms of like Caves of Qud. You can like hit walls. Maybe I don't need that. I'm just making a roguelike in 2 months. In a month, if I come back to this and I want to be able to hit walls, we'll add it. But for now, we're going to say no. Let's try not to focus too much on everything that could ever be in the game and try to focus on what we want to do now. So here, when we are moving into a cell, this class is getting really really ugly to look at. This is the enemy class. This is not even the grid class. Let's see. So for the cell... Sorry, I'm thinking about the way I want to go about this. So we'll process non-player entities after. So we'll say if cell dot character entity, is that what I called it? Character. If cell dot character, then we will do this thing, but with... I can't just select that. Cell dot character. Then we'll go through the rest of the entities, perform their action, of which one of them is move entity. We'll get the cell and remove the entity. So instead what we can do... Actually, no, this is fine. If E dot is character, then we will say and character equals E. Then we will set that to null. So we'll remove that. Otherwise, we will remove it from the stored entities on the list. So in this case, if the player moves onto a space that is occupied by items and then moves off, because it's a character type, we'll remove it from this special field. But if the items were removed, we'll remove it from the list of things that can just exist. I think that's fine. I think that works. And then for E and entities, we'll also check if character. I guess for blocks movement, we'll do this. If character dot blocks movement, return true. Or just, I guess it would block movement regardless. If character, return true. Blocks vision, if character dot blocks vision, return true. Okay, and then for add entity, we'll do basically the same for this. I want to say that that works. Then in the grid world, so like for example, if the player moves off of a space, so we grab the cell and we say remove the entity ends up being the player. Because player is a character, we set... Oh shit, this would be no problem. Character equals null. There we go. So if the entity is a character and the current character is the entity, this is just like a safeguard. Ideally, this would never be false. We set the character to null. Otherwise, we remove it from the list of things on the tile. Okay, that works. Set the new position. Same thing here. Add the entity if it's a character and it's equal to what's stored on the tile. Oh, we don't want that. See, this is why it's good to walk through your code and speak it out loud. So if E is character, character equals E. Then otherwise we add it to the stored entities. Okay, cool. So what else needs to be fixed in here? So for attack entity, we will say get cell target position dot character. Okay, I think that's fine. Then pick up entity. We'll say get cell dot get entities. Okay, now this is gonna need some working. So for e in this var target entity. Let's set this to null at first. If E is item entity, so we're gonna grab the first item entity that's on the cell. Which this might need to be changed later, because if, for example, we have multiple items, you don't want to have to like search through all of them and put them in your inventory and then drop the ones you don't want. But we'll worry about that. Get cell target position. If E is item entity, we do that. If target entity and that. Okay. Update pathfinding for entity and entities.values, but instead we want it to be for cell, grid cell in cells values. Yes. Yes. And then if cell dot blocks vision, or sorry, blocks movement, return, or sorry, a star grid dot set point solid cell dot how would I do this? I guess I would want this to be the position then. So cell pause vector 2i in keys. Cell and I also need to make sure that the cell doesn't contain the current entity, or else this would always fail. Right? Because I'm doing this check here. And then there's one less issue, which is remove entity, which will var cell equals get cell entity grid position cell dot remove. Okay. And now we get to see this blow up. So I'm gonna hit play. Nothing fails yet. If I move up, we have an error, which is non-existent function get entity. Okay, yeah, because I didn't adjust any of this. And this is in the player, so var cell grid cell equals grid world dot get cell How do I want to do this? Because I could loop over all the entities. I think I will. I was thinking if I could do something clever where I could say like var item predicate equals, oh god, how do I define this? Is it like this? Where it takes in like entity, return entity is item entity. And then I can do like cell dot like test or something. Cell dot like, what would it be? It would be like is, or like matches, has any. There we go. That's what it would be. Has any, and then pass this in. This is such like a gross. I'm gonna do this anyways because I'm curious if this would work well for this. I'm sure that people would find this at least somewhat interesting. So this would be a test func, which will be a callable. Can I specify parameters? So here, what I can do is I can say, or we can say if test func dot call passing in character return true. Otherwise, we loop over all of the entities and we pass them all one by one into the function. And if any of them becomes true, we return true. Otherwise, we return false. Does that work? So the idea here is we have this function which takes in an entity and it tells us whether or not it matches this like criteria. And this function will take in that function that we create and we'll test it over all of the entities on the square. And if any of them are true, this becomes true. I think that's what I want to do, just for fun. We'll see if that works. So now, so if the character is null, or the character, sorry. If the character is null or it doesn't block movement, then we can move on to it. Otherwise, if it has any items, then we pick up the cell. We call pick up on the cell. Otherwise, we assume it has something we can attack for now. There's a couple more things that we have to check, which is this can move to function, which is being called somewhere, apparently. No? Okay, you're dead. And then I imagine the enemy is also doing some similar shit. Can see, update pathfinding. Move toward. Wait, is this not interacting with the grid like at all? It's not. Okay, maybe this works. Nope. Okay, why? Because there's nothing in the cell. So if cell and cell is null or cell blocks movement. I guess if any of those become false, that should work. If cell and that were, oh sorry, parentheses are need to be like that. Non-existent function. Sorry, there we go. If not cell or not character or that. Okay, more bugs. Non-existent function, add entity in base nil. I think this is where... Here's what I do. I'm tired of that. For x in world size dot x, or y in world size dot y. Cells that... I'm just gonna set a default cell now, I think. I think that would make more sense than letting these be empty. In fact, in this way, I would probably make this an array, but for now, we'll just do that. Ooh, okay, we're moving. So can I walk onto the axe? That was weird. Hold on, that was really weird. I like moved double at some point. Character.blocks vision if character and character.blocks vision. So I'm not picking up the item and I don't know why. Oh, because we're hitting this one first. Okay, that makes sense. So how do we want to do item pickups then? Okay. Let me make sure enemies work first before I worry about that change. Invalid base. Is that because I'm stepping on something? No. Okay, so there is actually a problem with the path. Yeah, I might do a button to pick up items. Like, it might just be like when you're standing on it, you can press a button and pick it up. That might be fine, honestly. Let me fix this. So there's an issue. The issue being, I'm assuming at least, we're setting certain things to true or to solid or not solid inside of this. And I shouldn't be. So we set everything to not solid. And then we loop over all of the cells. I want to make this an array at some point. This feels really wrong. But we loop over all of this. If the character is the entity, then we don't do anything. Otherwise, if the cell exists and cell.blocks movement, we set the point solid. Okay, the problem is the player counts as solid. Okay, so the problem is that the enemy is attempting to move to this square. So whenever the enemy looks at this square, it asks, does this block movement? And technically it does, because you can't stand on the same spot as the player. So I guess I just don't say the player blocks movement for now. We'll see. We'll see. I'm writing so many hacks into this project, but that's like the learning process, you know? If cell.character is entity or cell.character is player, then I think that would work. Oh shit. Okay, that was cool. I don't know why you did that. Don't ever do that again. He moved so fucking fast. Okay, so enemy process this frame. Yeah, bro had instant transmission. I wonder if it was because of the side of the world that I'm on. Like if I were to... Because it might be related to the bug that I was talking about before that I already knew would happen. But like, let's say I drop an enemy over here. Does he also teleport instantly? No, okay, so it is a directional bug. It's like, for example, if I'm to the right, he teleports instantly. What if I'm below? So we're gonna find out, actually. Let's place an enemy here. And I'm gonna find out if below does it as well. No, okay. Down and to the left doesn't, down directly does. And any amount to the right seems to. Which means that something isn't being taken into account. So processed this frame. Let's set the false by default. Then if we've processed that entity this frame. Oh, I didn't account for it in the player code. If cell.character and cell.character dot process this frame. There it is. And I'm willing to bet that that fixes the issue. Ooh. I should not... I'm not a betting man, and there's a reason. Because this should be continue. It shouldn't be returned. Nope, that's not it. Let's process entities. So we loop over all of them and do that. Why are we not reaching this? Found it. I'm updating all of the entities that are stored on it, but I'm not updating the character that's on it. There we go. Look at that. Look at that. And just like that, the player's dead. Let's fucking go! Oh, that's exciting. Okay. So we have shit working. That's cool. That's exciting. Ooh, sorry, I hit my microphone. That was so unbelievably complicated. But now what that means... Let me make sure... Before I celebrate, let me make sure walls still work the way that they should. They don't. I forgot to make walls solid. I knew I was forgetting something. Okay, so why didn't that block movement? Because as far as I'm aware, that should block movement. What, before I celebrate, let me make sure walls still work. Oh god. Okay, hold up. Let me actually I'm gonna make myself like out to be the biggest loser in the world really quickly. Let's see. Let me see if I can find it. So there was this issue, and I think it's so funny, that this came up multiple times throughout the game's lifetime. So League of Legends is a game that I've played for a long time, unfortunately. And back in the day, they released a champion called Rek'Sai. I think it also happened with Kayn. And for some reason, specifically this champion Leona, and you'll see her respawn. So this, she just started walking through walls. Just for some reason, that update. It literally only affected her. And it is such a bizarre like coding issue. Oh, I guess Rek'Sai also started doing it, but like, you know, Riot obviously didn't hear the quote, "Before I celebrate, let me make sure walls still work." So we're gonna find out why. So if we have a cell, then this becomes false. So we also check if the character's null. Ah, okay. So in this case, I would want to make sure the character's null and the movement doesn't get blocked. So I think this would make walls solid. I want to say. There we go. So I can't move against the wall. Look at that, dude. Don't look at that. So I moved down. I don't know why that is. It's a pathfinding bug. I wish I could run code in this. That's actually one thing I would love for the Godot debugger, is to be able to run code again. Like, I know there's a bug here now, but like, I want to be able to drop this. Like, I want to be able to see into here. Just like, for example, if path.length equals 1. I just want to print fuck. Because this is a problem. Cannot find property length. You're right, because it's size in this engine. Hey there, fellow Godot developer. Wish you good luck on the project you're doing there. I can't stick for long. Wanted to hop in stream because I got an recommendations. Well, hey, thanks for stopping in. Yeah, I mean, the project's going. It's like an old school roguelike. It works sometimes. There we go. Oh, no, just kidding. So it's actually just a problem of everything. Something's wrong here. What is the issue? I don't know what the issue is. And I think for now, I'm going to say that I don't know what this is causing. And I'm going to say that this bug, for now, is not one that I care about. Yeah, so the path is empty, and I don't know why it is. And I'm going to say right now, if the path length is less than or equal to 0, we're not moving. We are returning an entity action.new action type.move. Sorry, action type.wait. We are not going to move because I'm going to drop it to do. This sometimes messes up when it shouldn't. And I don't know why. So we're just going to do that so that now, if there's ever a time where it would be failing, like you can see it's not crashing anymore. It's not pretty, but it's not crashing anymore. We'll call it complex AI. Sometimes AI does things that you don't expect it to. There we go. Okay, so now that that is done, allow multiple entities in a spot, which means this for now is done. However, this is no longer done because this killed that. So let's fix that. Let's add a new action, or we'll call this like pick up. Sorry, wrong thing. Pick up. I'll just bind this to like G for now, for git. Then inside of the player script. So what are we doing? Input vector, if input vector, that's fine. Else we do that, L if is action just pressed, pick up. If pick up and grid world dot get cell. So if the cell at my current position has any item predicate. Put this out here. I really do like the idea of this predicate thing, and I might make some of these just like public. Like, I might make like an item filters class or an entity filters class, and then just like have this that I can pass in wherever I want to. We'll see though. So if the action is pressed and the cell has items, then we want to pick up. Else, I don't know, man. You shouldn't be doing that. So, for example, now if I'm standing here and I press G, oh, it's going to do that anyways. Okay, it's running all the time. That's fine. So if I press G, it does nothing. If I walk onto the axe and press G, it picks up the item. Let me make sure. Okay, walls are still solid, by the way, just in case you were curious. Let's go. Okay. So we can pick up items. I won't care about this. I would like the ability to change out the inventory, because right now that doesn't really exist. Right now we just have an inventory and we don't really do anything with it. I think that will be another time though. Those walls are solid, and I'm very happy to see that, because honestly, I didn't know if it would be. One thing I would like to add, let me... An enemy. What would be the best way to do this, I wonder? If I wanted to make it so that it was controlled by like a debug thing. If not debug draw, return. And up here, say export var debug draw. And then in the enemy class, I can just say debug draw. There we go. And then if I turn it off, there we go. Cool. So I don't have to see the lines anymore. So one thing I would like to change is this. So whenever I'm standing on the axe, it's kind of hard to tell what you're standing on. And I want to say... Like, I might put this in the to-do list, and I don't know if that's going to happen. But I would like to make it so that there's like a draw order cycling on the tiles. So, for example, let's say that we have like 3 entities on this like tile. So for whenever you step onto it, it would obviously show the player first. And then after like a second or so of waiting, it would start cycling through the entities that are on the screen or on the tile. Maybe. So it would be like, we show the character, and then after a second, it's like, okay, and then we show the first entity, and then after a second, we show the second entity, and then after a second, the third entity, and then we loop back and we show the character again. I think that works. I think that would work. Let's try it. Grid cell. Or Fortress does that, and Caves of Qud also does that, which is where I get it from. Current display index. So this would be an int that could never be larger. So I just want to write this out. So this can't be larger than entity count plus 1 if character is there. I guess it can't be larger than entity count at all. Otherwise, count -1. So let's say func cycle display. And then we'll also have like a reset display. So for example, So cycle display would be called on like a set loop time, perhaps. And then reset display would be called every like turn, because we would have like the main display feature. So current display index equals 0. Func display entity. This would be a private function that would not be called anywhere else. So what this does is, so if the index is 0, sorry, I'm thinking through this in my head, like a couple different ways I could do it. Because I could do something like all entities is equal to character. And then something like that, and then that'd be kind of wasteful though, because I'd be constructing that for 1 frame and then immediately killing it. So maybe what we'll do is we'll say if current display index is 0, then we say character.visible equals true. Or I guess we can probably do character if character.visible equals current display index equals 0. And then otherwise, so if display index is 1, we'll say for e in entities. So for each entity inside of that, I guess I need the number, don't I? So the first entity would be ID 0, but we would want current display index to be 1. So we'll subtract 1 from the actual index. If that equals the current display index, or sorry, plus 1, then we set it to visible. Otherwise, which I guess could also be written as just like a variable assignment, e.visible equals. Okay, and then for cycle display, what we'll do is we'll say current display index plus equals 1 if current display index is greater than, I want to say it would be, oh, you know what? Var total count is equal to entities.size. So for example, if it was just the entities on the screen and there were 3, or in the cell and there were 3 of them, there were no characters involved, I would want it to go up to 2. And if it goes above 2, it would loop. However, if the character is there, so if we have a character on the tile, total count, it's 1 extra. In that case, we wouldn't want it to go above 3. Total count would be 4. So we say if total count, or actually we can say total count, our current display index mod equal total count, I think. And then both of these would call display entity. Okay, and then inside of this cell, I want to add a timer, which will be cycle timer. So we'll say like every second, this will loop. So inside of here, we'll say onReady var cycle timer equals cycle timer. Which if you didn't know, you can just click on this, drag it over, and then hold control, and it does it for you. Then when the player moves, we will say, I guess it would be process entities also does that, but let's see. So when the player moves, we want to grab whatever cell the player's on. I guess that would also be in here. For every cell, set every character to process this frame. In that case, we would also set each of the cells a current or reset display. Okay, I don't remember how timers work. If I call start, starts the timer if it was not started already. Is there a way to restart timers? Just restart the timer or no? Starts the timer if it was not started already. Fails if it's not in 3. If time sec is greater than 0. This value is used for wait time. This does not resume a paused timer. Okay, well that doesn't tell me what it does. Because there's no like restart thing, right? Hey, what does stopping do? Sorry. It just says stops the timer. We're gonna hope that it restarts. We're gonna find out. And then I'm also gonna connect the signal. Cycle timer dot timeout dot connect. Sorry, dot connect. On cycle timeout. At which point we will scroll all the way down here. Func on cycle timeout. So on this one, we will loop over all of the cells. And we will call cell.cycle display. And pray that this works. Uh-oh. Ooh. 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 Okay. That was... Oh, okay. Well, this needs to be cells dot... cells dot values. Yeah, no, that was not... Modulo by 0 operator. Total count is 0. Okay, yeah. So we'll say if total count... we'll just return because we don't need to update anything on that cell. Also, I should say we're doing some stuff with like visibility. If there's anyone with like any sort of epilepsy or anything like that, or like visual like can bother you, you might want to look away for this part of the stream, because if I do something wrong, it could end up flashing a lot. So just be aware of that. So I move forward. Nothing happens. So cycle display, so we add one. The total count is entity size. If there's a character, we add 1. And we do that. So for example, if we had 1 entity, the displayed would be 0. Display entity. If we have a character... Oh, you know what? It's because... Okay, all the characters are displaying correctly. I wonder if I step onto wherever the axe is, it would work. I don't know. We need to say index offset equals 1. So if we have the character, index offset is 1. I think that should do it. So if I move forward... Okay, so it works. Dude. Dude. It works. All right. And then, of course, we gotta check our work. We still can't walk through walls. Honestly, that kind of worked out better than I thought it would. That works out so much better. So let's do... I'm actually gonna have a second timer, which is gonna be the cycle wait timer. So, for example, I don't want it to immediately start looping. I want there to be like we'll say for the first like 2 seconds that you're on the tile, it doesn't start looping. So for example, ooh, sorry, I just song that came on is Budokai Tenkaichi 2 soundtrack. It's like immediately took me back to like 2008 or like 2006. What year did that game come out actually? Budokai Tenkaichi 2 release date. 2006, yeah. Okay, so cycle timer.start. So whenever we process the entities, we want to do cycle wait timer.start. And we want to stop the actual cycle timer. Then we want to have func on cycle wait timeout. We want to do cycle timer.start. And then this will be cycle wait timer will be used. What am I looking for? Right here. Timeout.connect on cycle wait timeout. So the idea for this is whenever I move, it takes about 2 seconds, and then it'll start like going over them a little bit faster. There's a problem. Which is that it looks like it's not the same. Like it flicks to the axe for 0.75 seconds, but it flicks to the player for like double that amount. Which, that feels a little bit devious. That feels like something in here is wrong. So let's say, let me just do this like a once over because something in here feels wrong. You know what? Actually, I can do something else. Do I have an item scene, right? Let me drop another item scene in here. Oh, I can't set... I can set it. I think if I move it here, that should be close enough. And then not character, doesn't block vision, doesn't block movement. Oh, I need it to be a separate item. I guess I should make this an export. So by default, it's an axe. In this case, however, I'm going to make it a spear. So what this should do... Okay, once I move. Ooh. Yeah, see, so it's like sitting on one of the items a little bit longer than the other, which is not what I intended, but I kind of fuck with it. Honestly, oh, you know what it is? I know what it is. I know what it is. I know exactly what it is. The cycle wait timer isn't one shot. That's exactly what it was. Oh my god. I don't even know how I fucking recognized that. So what was happening was it would cycle because 0.75 doesn't line up cleanly with 2. What would happen is this timer would fire a second time, which would cause it to go back to 0, which means it would last for, I think, whatever 0.5 plus 0.75 is. So like 1.25 seconds it would last. But honestly, does this work with 3? Oh my god, that is actually sick. I really like that. And then if I press G, I should pick up the axe or the spear first. I guess the spear, because it looks like the spear is first in the list. Okay, so I perform the action. There should only be an axe there now. Okay, only a spear there. That's fine. Dude, that kind of fucks. I won't lie. I really like that. Okay, let's commit that now. So git add dot, git commit, multiple entities and entity display cycling. And honestly, I'm very happy with the progress today. I think we are at the point where we can start doing like actual gameplay changes. Like, I think tomorrow I would be able to set up some sort of like little dungeon for the player to go through just as like a test. We need to add the ability to interact with items. So like if you pick up, like, let's say we actually had this potion that you could pick up, you would be able to access that from your inventory and use it. But honestly, I'm really happy with the way this looks right now. So let's find someone who's streaming. Is Quellis streaming yet? Quellis, you motherfucker. Start streaming soon.
Already hit start.
There we go. Sorry. You better start streaming soon or else you're not getting people dumped on you. Let's see. So let's start making the to-do list for Tuesday. So new folder. No, not there. So Tuesday's date is the 10th. So we'll do September 10th. Code goals. So we're going to start writing some goals out for the 10th. So the first thing is items. I really want to get items working. So able to view inventory and use items. That's going to have some subtasks such as like potions. I guess there should be like inventory UI, potions. And then outside of that, I would also like to be able to pick which item to pick up. That would be really nice, which is also going to be broken down into like a UI portion and then like a code portion. And then levels, I think would be nice. I don't know how I want to do levels. I don't know if I want it to be like Caves of Qud, where if you walk off the side of the screen, it starts, like, it moves you to a different area. It might be like that, I'll be honest. Or it might just be single screen. I don't know. But I would like to have some sort of, like, level differences. So we'll maybe look into doing, like, a level transition object. Like a door or something. I'll probably add more to that as time goes on. But let's also do world objects. I guess we'll say world, like interactables. So something like levers, doors. There are a couple things I would also like to add at some point, and I don't believe that's going to be a Tuesday type thing, where it's like spells, like, or like a ranged weapon. Because currently all combat is melee, which is cool. That's fine. That's not how I want it to be forever. So I think eventually it will be a, like, I'll need to put spells and things into it. But I honestly think this will keep me busy. I'll probably go back and like refine some of these into like sub steps. But I think for now, this is a good set of goals to have for Tuesday. Let me look for someone to raid, actually. See, who in here do I know well enough to raid? I want to say Freedom Forge. I probably know well enough. Or like I've seen a couple of his streams. So let's send you over there. At least the Twitch people. Raid has been created. Here is the Twitch stream. One of these days I will figure out how to raid on YouTube, but regardless, there is the Twitch stream. Not like there's many people watching on Twitch, but anyways, I am going to call it for today, and we will head out.
Bitlytic.
There we go. All right.
Yeah,
Catch you guys later.
Howdy. Well.